All right, we're here on July 8th, and we're here with our special guest, Mark Gillette from Pacific Bank Card. Mark, thank you so much for being here. This is Real Talk with Ryan, and we're excited to hear your story. You have a unique journey. You've done so many different things, and I know you'll bring some insight and experience on things you've seen that will help so many. And aside from that, you're a terrific person and I enjoy talking with you. So I know everyone's going to enjoy this. So thank you so much for being here. If anyone has questions, feel free to use the chat. I'm monitoring the chat. I'll work those questions in. And at the end, we'll also turn the recording off and go live so you can ask questions out loud and in a free flow at the end as well. So Mark, with that, thank you so much for being here. And first question is, I'd love for you just to introduce yourself. Tell us briefly about your company and what you do, and then we'll dive into the rest of it. So, Mark, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan, and thanks for everybody tuning in and having me here this afternoon, spending your afternoon with us. My name is Mark Gillette. I've been in the merchant processing business for 15 years now, and my business acts as a brokerage, if you will, and I contract out with 3 or 4 different companies because not one shoe fits all feet, right? So every bank card company, they do things a little better than some others depending on what type of merchant. And I don't want to have to fit a merchant into a box. And so I like to sit down with a merchant and find out what is the best, what their pain points are and what their needs are, and try to find the processor that I work with to do business with them and place them at that place of processing. So we do that. Then we have our affiliates where we do other things like research and development money and those type of things. I try to keep it limited, but I try to find things that we can really help businesses out and increase their profitability.
Perfect. Who would be an ideal client for you? What kind of challenges do they have? What kind of revenues or industries would they be in?
Yeah, right now, obviously, any retail or restaurants that, sat down with a merchant in Coronado yesterday. He owns a restaurant, and he's got a small to medium-sized, nice restaurant, nice Italian place, but he's just getting killed, man. He's just getting killed, and he's getting killed not only by the outdated legacy processing systems like Aloha and Micros. He's getting killed because you can no longer have indoor seating. So he can seat a maximum of 25 people on his outdoor patio. And he's grateful he has an outdoor patio to be able to do business in. And hopefully he gets the word out to do online ordering. So we set him up with the ability, we're working on setting him up with a POS system that integrates to his website. People can go on to the website, they can put their order in, and that processes right into their POS system. So it's just so seamless and flawless, and it's not $20,000 or $30,000 like it used to be. It's relatively inexpensive. We can get a new system in, use a lot of his old equipment for about $3,000 for
Very
2
nice.
stations. Yeah. So it's affordable, and it's going to increase its profitability immensely, in my opinion.
I know in the merchant processing space, most people just don't know what they don't know, right? So they just use who they got because that's what they've had, and it's just something that's a hassle or a bother, and they just don't deal with it, even though there's a significant amount of savings or efficiency in processing. How do you connect with them, and what are some of the kinds of things that you see that people just don't even realize are opportunities for them?
Yeah, I ask them honestly, Ryan, I ask them what their time is worth. Sometimes it is a little bit of a hassle, but when you have somebody like myself and I'm hands-on, I take care of all the dirty work. So I'm hands-on. I don't just ship you machinery. I come down, I do the install, and as part of doing business with me. That's my courtesy to the merchant. And I just say, what is it? If I save you $6,000 or $7,000 a month, I mean, even $1,000 or $12,000 a year. I mean, is that worth your time for a 30-minute meeting? And I don't know. Maybe some people are doing so well, and God bless them if they are. I'm so happy for them. But if somebody told me, give me 35, even an hour of your time, and I can increase your profitability by $1,000 a month, maybe more, I'd be interested in what they had to say.
Perfect. Thank you for that. This is Real Talk with Ryan. We're here with our special guest, Mark Gillette. And if you have questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat box. We'll add them in and filter them in, and then there's time for questions at the end. One of the reasons, Mark, I know you personally. I like you personally. You're such a good guy. You have the best interest of the people around you and your clients in mind. And that's easy coming from me to say, but what's really interesting in me having you on is your journey here. It would be relatively easy for me to just find other merchant processors to put them on and talk about the technology or talk about the savings and be very product oriented. But what's so unique about you is the path you've taken to get here. And so I want to take us completely deviating away from what you do now. And you can see in your background, you see the fish on the wall, and your journey is not what anyone would think. So talk to us and share with us your path to get to where you're at, and the businesses you've been involved in and what you've owned and some of those challenges. Because I think if we hear some of those successes and some of those failures, it's certainly going to help us understand why you care so much about the clients and why it matters to you. So take us there.
Yeah, I had a business partner. We were really close friends. We worked on sport fishing boats together, and a friend of ours introduced us to the bank card business, and that's how we got started. In the first couple of years we were in bank card, we did significantly well for ourselves, and we needed a tax deduction. We needed tax write-off, so we decided to buy a sport fishing boat. And we wish we would have learned a little more about business before we decided to buy a boat. And even though it was a business we knew, learning business comes hard. And so there were a lot of trials and tribulations into that expenditure. But we were successful. We did end up owning 2 sport fishing boats. The Whale Watch Company is still very vibrant here in San Diego. I've sold my interest in that corporation, and a harbor cruise company in Mission Bay. So I know what it's like to have 48 employees we had at our height, between 4 boats and bank card business. So I understand what merchants are going through when they've got no time to themselves and they've got expenditures and exposure. And, one of the things we did, we would go on payroll, and then, my business partner really liked to save that 10% on payroll tax and would take us off payroll. And, a couple of our employees got together and class action lawsuited us. And, that was a $90,000 check that we had to write the very next day. That's not a, hey, I can make payments on that. No. You have to write that check or you're out of business. And that's one of the things I like to think I bring to the table, Ryan, is having that experience and not wanting people to have to go through. I don't like to sell on fear, but I do like to let people know this can happen to you. It happened to us, and it can put people out of business in a hurry. Deviated out of sport fishing. It's a tough business, having a lot of employees, and now doing this full time. I do still moonlight fishing a couple days a week on a yacht. So it gets me out on the water, gets me keeps my raccoon eyes and a tan, and it's a lot of fun, and I get to meet some great people. But the bank card business is definitely where my passion is now.
How has your experience owning a business and going through some of those challenges, how has that helped you relate to the business owners in a meaningful way? I'm going to ask it a little different. How has it changed the way you interact with the business owner?
Yeah, great question. It does, because I think I empathize with them, and I try to establish that I've been there. I've been there. I know what you're going through. A lot of times I think business owners, I like to come in and sit down with a business owner, and the first thing I tell them is, I'm here to help you. That's all I'm here to do. I'm here to help you. This isn't a sales pitch. This isn't, we're going to negotiate. It's a back and forth. It's sometimes when I sit down with people, they're so used to sitting with somebody like myself, and it's anything that I say, somebody like myself is usually trying to sell them a product or service. I like to give them 3 or 4 different options. Here's your 3 or 4 different options. You're the business owner. Here's what I would do and why I would do it. But here's 3 or 4 options. Whichever way you go is fine with me. But here's 3 or 4 different options I think are good options for you. Because I think people, merchants and people we're doing business with, as well as the customers and the consumers, like choice.
Absolutely. What strikes me when you say that, you go back and you look at, you were in this business space that was doing very well. You expanded a business into a passion of what you enjoyed, got in a whole bunch of trouble with that because of decisions that you made that you didn't realize you were making, or did and didn't realize the consequences. I have a 2-part question. The first one is, as you're really, because you're still running in your own business space, you have control of your own destiny, right? But as you were going through that experience, what did you learn that you were surprised when you started your business? And then what did you learn that was exactly what you thought? So talk about what reinforced what you enjoyed so much, and also something that surprised you about going through that experience.
What surprised me, how when you're in business, you're making money for everybody else. You really are. You're making, especially in that fishing business, you're working hard to make money for everybody else, and that's difficult. There's so many hands that are out and trying to get a piece of what you're doing when you're doing your hard work. For us, it was, the bait company, the landing, it was the government. Every turn, there was somebody that said, you owe me a little money, you owe me this, you owe me that. And keeping up on top of that was full time. So I liked being out on the boat, but I couldn't be out doing what I loved the most because we didn't have that infrastructure to support ourselves. It wasn't until we started, I think our 3rd boat, that we finally really grew as a company and had an office space. We had, employees, what's it called? We had a place for employees to HR to go to. We had in-house personnel that ran each division of our company. And it surprises you how fast it grows. And when it does, how liable you are for so many things. Unfortunately, if an employee does something under your company, you could be held liable for that. And the amount of time I've spent in a courtroom over some of that stuff is just, it wears on you. Somebody falls on your boat, next thing you know, you're in court, and it doesn't have to be your fault. So that was the tough part. The easy part was the people. I like the people. I think that's what relates the fishing business to the merchant business. We're just dealing with people and helping them out. So instead of helping people catch fish, I'm helping them catch their dollars and putting it in their
No, that's
their
interesting.
savings plan.
It's been a common theme in the people we've had on, and many of them are in a product-based or a service-based business that is, very back office or very routine, like merchant processing or insurance or technology or really any kind of space operations. And we're staring down this idea that portion is very mechanical. But the reason that so many of us are in this space is because we want to contribute in a meaningful way to the people that are around us. So in your best outline or best idea, how do you translate the payment processing and the research and development tax credits to people? What kind of impact does your space have on the well-being of the people that you interact with?
Yeah. Try to increase the profits for the business owners, so at the end of the day, they've actually got money to put away, because their risk and entrepreneurship is so much that most people don't realize what sacrifices they go through, what trials and tribulations they go through. And at the end of 10 or 15 or 20 years, you want to have something to look back on and say, this was worth it to us. We were able to put money away for retirement. We were able to put our kids through school. We were able to buy a house. We were able to do something with that. And that's what I hope to do, with these type of things, with the merchant processing space, helping some of these businesses out with the new cash discounting program. we're not saving them 10, 15, 20, $50 a month. We're coming in. I mean, I'm saving some of these restaurants $6,000, $7,000 a month. Like, I mean, think about that number. I mean, it's a lot of money, you know. That's something they can do something with. That's something they can do something for their families with.
That's awesome. This is Real Talk with Ryan. If you have any questions, we're here with Mark Gillette. Feel free to use the chat box. Text them in. We will work them in, and then at the end we'll have questions. Mark, thank you so much for being here today. Excited to hear your story. Thank you for taking us on that journey. It's especially when we can see, you know, the fish in the background and see how. What's impressive to me about you is that despite going through that experience, a lot of people will try to take their passion, right? Take their hobby and turn it into a business. And in the challenges that a business comes up with, the challenges of, oh, I'm facing all this thing, they lose their passion for what matters, right? What balances them. And so what struck me very early in our conversation is you taking us on this journey about, I have all these things that happened and I'm making money for other people, and it's handout here, a handout here, a courtroom here, a mistake over here, money out here. The fact that you're still out on a fishing boat to balance your life because that passion's sustained, that's impressive. So I'm going to take us away from business for a second, talk about Mark personally. How do you evaluate the value of your personal time? You talked about what's your time worth when you interact with a client about their processing. But how do you evaluate the value of your time and how you strike that balance between the work product and actually having balance in your life for you and your family?
Try to be grateful. Try to be grateful. I think if we're grateful for, you know, I always tell my kids, 17-year-old and a 12-year-old, and I always tell them we're grateful for the things we have, not jealous of the things that we don't have. And I think if you're grateful for the things that you have, you look at your own personal being and the things that we do have. We have so much here in this country. Even the poorest of us have 2 cars anymore, and, you know, a home, and it may be a struggle, but there's opportunity. For me, that's what it is. It's just grateful. I'm grateful to be where I'm at. I'm grateful to have the people around me that I do. I'm humbled by that. And I think for me, that just kind of keeps me balanced. And I'm able to go out a couple days a week and go fishing. That's great. And meet new people and prospective business owners. And I mean, how does it get better? I don't know. I don't know how it gets better. For me, it doesn't. So I'm just humbled. I'm grateful. And you know, I feel kindness wins. You know, it's easy. I think you have a choice in life, Ryan. You have a choice. You can love or hate. You know, everybody talks so much about this going on right now in our world, and not any politics or anything set aside. You have a choice whether you can love or you can hate, and that's what you can expend to the world. And for me, I choose love, and I just expend that out and let the people that around hate. And I don't judge people. It's not my place. I'm nobody to judge anybody, so I don't. And I just try to love on people, and that comes with gratitude.
All of us have an idea around organizations we want to support, the difference we can make in the community, and you know, we want to be kind to everybody. And you voiced that so eloquently just then. When you're striking that balance between your work, your family, your play, I know there's a big part of you and your family that contributes in a meaningful way to organizations in the community. Talk about how that plays a role in your life and how you select the kind of people or organizations you work with and deal with.
Yeah, well, I'm a member of East Lake Rotary Group, and finding that Rotary group was a blessing. It's a small Rotary club, but I love it because it's small. And it's far from my house, so I got to drive 30 minutes to get to it. But it's when I met the core group of people there, they were so giving, and they did so much work across the border. And I've spent so much of my time in Mexico, taking, you know, from the waters of Mexico, fishing in their waters, that I wanted to be able to give back. And so we're able to go do things like build homes down there, and help out a men's only senior housing, if you will, and being able to take my kids down there and do those things. And in local communities, just being able to give to our communities, it makes it an easy choice for us to be able to give, to be a part of an organization that is selfless in nature and is of action,
Yes. I'm going to take it back to the product side for a second, but in the same theme.
Mm-hmm.
You are a broker for multiple organizations, right? And it gives you the flexibility to select the best product for your clients. Do you have any criteria, or what are the standards that you use to make sure that those people, those organizations that you're plugging clients into, meet the kind of standard that they do business effectively, that they're good people, that they contribute in a positive way? What criteria do you use to select the actual suppliers that you use and approach?
Experience. In our business, it is it's kind of a sleazy business. It really is. You're going to hear promises from we get it all the time. And that's why people are reluctant to sit down with people like me, because they have been scammed. They've been lied to so many times. And some of these companies will promise the world, and then as soon as they sign them up, the agent's gone, never hear from them again. So my experience with these companies that I've used over the years, their customer service, their ability to treat my customers the way I would like them treated, that just comes from experience of placing merchants there. That's why I've come down to 3-4 companies that I really trust and use, and it just is no other way around it except for experience and anecdotal evidence of history, what we've done together.
When we were first going through, and this real talk, and again, thank you for being on, Mark. It's so you're so gracious for being here, and love the story that you've told so far. But at the very beginning of this, you saw so many people who were cheating, lying, really utilizing whatever was necessary to get ahead, and it's discouraging when you're fighting in space where you're up against those that don't have that moral or ethical compass that I try to live my life and we try to run our business with. And when you talked about competing against people that are like that, organizations that behave like that, it can be so discouraging that you watch them at times get ahead. And by doing the right thing, it feels like you're left behind. And it's easy to start to slide. Well, if I behave more like them, maybe I can get ahead too. And I've tried to resist that. And every step of the way, I say, no, I'm not going to go back to that. And it pays off in the end usually. But in those moments, it's really discouraging. How do you overcome that? What's that center moral or center standard that holds the line and says, no, I'm going to behave this way because ethics matter to me? Who I am is more important than what I might gain from this one activity. So we'd love to hear how you fight through that, because in your space, it's really hard when you're competing against bad actors.
Yeah, it really is difficult, Ryan. Probably because I haven't always been the most ethical person when I was younger, and I did make mistakes, and I do. I can't correct those things except for my behavior from today forward, and looking at the person in the mirror and being an example for my children, and that's it. I can't look at what other people are doing. I can't compare myself. I can just focus on me and be responsible for me and me only. And I think it's kind of like maybe staying in your lane, being grateful for the things that we have. And I think if that self-focus is there, for me, I have a higher power, have a higher faith. So that keeps me grounded. And that's just my personal journey. So I can't change everything that's happened in the past, but I can do better today and tomorrow. And that's what I have control of. And I can't look at what other people are doing unethical, that word, without ethics. I can't change how they behave, but I can change how I approach those merchants. And so it is important to have those relationships with merchants. And I do tell them, hey, if you're happy with my service and who I am, 3 months from now, I'm coming back for 2 or 3 referrals. That's the way I need to grow my business. And And so far that's been successful for us.
You talked about your journey, you know, and all of us have made mistakes, and sometimes it's easy to put ourselves out there as, hey, look at all the good things I've done. But we always say at RG that you learn more about someone's character and how they respond to the mistakes they make and how they learn than if everyone was perfect all the time. And that comes with a sense of enlightenment or a self-awareness. And I had to go through a very similar journey. And when you think about your journey, how far did you have to fall to recognize, wow, I don't want to behave this way before? And how much of that was learned from other people around you? Because so many of us have to fall all the way to the bottom, right? And experience the greatest pain before we pivot and adjust. And then you sit there afterwards and go, wow, I wish I would have just figured this out. How was that process for you?
Difficult. In the words of Sinatra, I mean, the best part about being down, baby, is only one way to look up. So that's your choice, right? Like, you know, I think you have to surrender your will. And for me, let God's will be. So that was my personal journey. That may not be the same for everybody, but that was mine. And I can say now I'm in a better place in my personal life than I've ever been. And I think that's because I've surrendered that and let go of all that animosity and hate and anger. And if you let go of those feelings and start focusing on positive things, your life starts becoming positive. And I think merchants, people I'm doing business with, they sense that as soon as I walk through the door. So we don't get everybody, obviously, you know, but I think it comes from your personal within. And so when you do have people doing unscrupulous things in your industry, yeah, they might be ahead for a little bit, but in the long run, kindness wins, I think, you know, and I hope. And it's been that way for us so far.
Very nice. Thank you, Mark. This is Real Talk with Ryan. Special guest, Mark Gillette from Pacific Bank Card. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to use the chat box, and then we'll open it up in a little bit for open questions. Mark, you talked about these ethics, right? And your position on making sure you bring the right vendors in and the merchants come in. How do you communicate, or what steps do you take to make sure that the clients that are working with you align? Because if your clients don't align ethically and perform in a way that is not consistent with your values, that reflects on you. And so what steps do you take to actually have an evaluation of who that client is? Instead of taking everybody, you know, we have to be careful with that to make sure that we have some values that align. So how do you do that for your business?
Man, that's a great question. And we find that so much because it is hard in our business, right? To find people to do business. Once we do get them to say yes, you know, we start, you know, saying, hey, this is going to make life better for our families. Sometimes, you know, right away, they make a comment here or there, and you just kind of go, this might not work out. You know, this might not work out together. And so you have the choice to back out of the deal. And I have told on very rare occasions, hey, this isn't going to work. You might need to find somebody else to do business with. It hasn't happened often, but it has happened. But I also think that if I just do my job and do what I'm supposed to do, maybe some part of me in a positive way will rub off on that person, and maybe they'll see errors in their ways. And I try to look at that angle as well.
Thank you for that. I mean, it's such a critical component to the way we conduct business, because we are a reflection and have an impact on the way our clients and our vendors do business, but they are a reflection on us.
Yep.
And so aligning that can be really, really valuable. And if we forget that, they end up leading us places we never thought we wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take you back in the Wayback Time Machine for a second. And everyone's path, you talked a lot about your business path and how you've moved in and out of your business, your passion becoming your business, and now your old business is now your passion. But you didn't go to school to learn payroll or to learn merchant processing and research and development tax credits, right? And I doubt very seriously that when you're on the boat saying, hey, I'm running a boat, I want to, I'm going to study this piece. How in the world did you get to payment processing in the first place?
Yeah, a friend of my former partner and he was doing it, and he said, well, you guys should try this business because we were personable. We were in the people business on boats. We always told my crew, before I owned boats, I even told them, I said, you want to go in the business of catching fish and making money, go commercial fishing. And sport fishing, we're going to catch wallets, and we're in the customer service business. So I think that naturally just progressed into what we could do to make life better for our families. I've always been kind of inclined to the financial thing. My mom was a banker. All my aunts on my mom's side are all bankers. So I think that always kind of appealed to me a little bit. I've always been interested in money and how it works and business in general. But when we got into it, it was, wow, we could still be fishermen and then make a little bit of money. And then I was like, told my business partner, well, if we actually quit doing this all the time and being gone from our families, we could actually do this full time and make this kind of money. We could actually support ourselves. And that's how we kind of veered off into that path.
Did it come with mentors teaching you? Was it all hands on deck, learned by trial and error? I mean, probably a mixture of both, but talk to us about that process.
Yeah, we've had some mentors along the way. In the bank card business, they really keep things close to the vest.
Yeah.
So it is, though, I would say that we've never really had a true mentor to kind of hold our hand, teach us the ways. So that's what I kind of do now. I've started to rebuild the company from, my business partner and I split. I bought his aspect of things out. And I'm starting to build the bank card company back up from the bottom. So, I had to get my base of clients, and then I got one agent now, and I'll start growing to more agents. So I can teach these agents what I know, what it's taken me 15 years of trial and error to understand and learn and be successful. And I learn from them all the time. I think one of the things of being good at what you do is knowing that if you don't evolve, you go extinct, and business constantly changes. And, I'd like to find more young people that are interested in this because they have a better grasp of how the internet, I know how the internet works, obviously, but new marketing techniques and strategies, it's a whole different world. And if you're not staying on top of it, it'll pass you by really quick.
Absolutely. We're here with Mark Gillette. This is Real Talk with Ryan. Mark, thank you so much for sharing that. I want to finish, and then we'll open it up for open questions. I want to finish with a topic, and you were already talking about it here about mentoring new staff, right? Utilizing their understanding of new marketing techniques. And we're all in a very different environment. Everything's changing, and all of us are experiencing some format of change in these moments, right? At varying degrees of intensity, for sure, but there is change with every single person everywhere in some format. But when I look back on my story, and I resonate so much with something you said a little while ago about your kids, we talked about the hard lessons that we learn of getting there through, I made this mistake, and now I'm looking back at, wow, that wasn't the right path, and I learned from it. But more of what's crafted me has been this idea of what is it that I want to teach my children, right? What is it that my daughter, I really care about and how I want her to behave? And as I started applying those life lessons of what I wanted to actually mentor her and what kind of values I want to instill in her, I started realizing that those really belonged in my life for me. And I started adopting those for me. And then as I started adopting those for me, I said, well, actually, this is what matters to me in my business. And I started adopting those for business. So you mentioned one of the things that changed you, or one of the things that helped you through I'm pivoting, was what I wanted my children to learn from me. So what are some of those principles, and how are you passing those on to them, both in your business and also to them in their lives?
Yeah, in their lives, I'm very fortunate. I'm very close with both my kids, and we conversate a lot, and we talk a lot, and they'll ask me questions about business and just in life when they come to point in their life where they are, questioning things or talking about things, I just try to, tell them what my value systems are and how I look at the world and how I view it. And I tell them about my mistakes. I think the hardest thing that any of us have is being honest. That is hard, especially when you've made mistakes and bad ones, And I've had to tell my kids, look, I've made mistakes and bad mistakes. And these are some of the things that I've done. And I don't want you to walk down this path because you're just going to end up where I ended up, and you're going to, you can fight your way out of it, but you're making it so much harder for yourself. Like I said, I used to just look at everybody and everything and said, I want to get ahead, keep up with the Joneses, right? We got to get this, we got to get this, we got to grow, we got to be this. And now it's not that way. Now it's more inner contentness, and instead of, being jealous and envious and letting that overtake you and consume you, I changed that for myself into kindness and love and understanding and empathy, and I try to pass those on to my children, and hopefully and I'm lucky that they are both naturally more that way than I was at a young age. And that's all we can do as parents, right? Like,
yep.
Prepare our kids for the world that's out there. That's it, and I hope that I do a good job.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Mark, this is my last question, and then we'll open it up to the forum just to ask questions of you. We appreciate your time, appreciate your openness. This whole story, you've got a good product, you've got flexibility in your product, you contribute in a positive way to your clients, you align your values with the way your clients and your vendors interact with you. You try to pass on what you've learned so that people don't have to take the same journey, and you recognize mistakes. And we appreciate that about you. After going through all that, and you sit today and you look at, here's how I am, would you share with us how your perspective is different now? How you view the world, and what is the single piece that drives you to say, this is how I stay content? Because it's so easy to slip back to, I got to keep up, I got to keep up, I got to get ahead. But there's this central focused, the center of gravity, so to speak, that says, this is what's going to keep me grounded. How has your outlook changed?
Well, for me personally, Ryan, to be honest with you, every night I get on my knees, and I give thanks. That's the first thing I do. And that's something very personal to me. I don't share that a lot, but that's one thing that I do, and that keeps me grounded, and that keeps me humble. And as long as I know that I'm here in a servant as a service to others, I'm no better. I tell my kids all the time, nobody's better than you, and you're not better than anybody else. So we're all in the same fight, and again, it just goes back to kindness. We have a choice. You want to love or you want to hate. That's your choice. We always look if you get on your Facebook or Instagram, everybody's talking about this group and that group and these people and that people, and don't worry about everybody else. Worry about you. Worry about what you can control. And I say this as somebody that's 41 years old. It always goes back to a video I have of Tupac Shakur. And somebody that graduated in 97, we in LA, that we looked up to Pac. And, one of the things that Pac said, I can't be responsible for every black male. I can only be responsible for me. And that resonated with me then. And it really resonates with me now. I can only be responsible for me. Can't be responsible for you. I can't be responsible for every group or every person, but I can be responsible for me. And it's taken me 41 years to really get a grasp on that.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for your openness. There's so much we can all learn and grasp. And your journey's impressive. Your character I'm happy to know you. My life is better because I do, and I know you contribute to everyone around you in a positive way. So congratulations, Mark Gillette from Pacific Bank Card. Thank you, Mark, for being our guest. And we look forward to great things from you and your organization in the future. So thank you, Mark. Appreciate you being here today.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate being on here today.